Global warming hasn't warmed in 15 years, but that doesn't stop the UN charter called the IPCC to put out a report saying that they are 95% sure that man is the cause of global warming. So the IPCC reports that they are 95% sure that man is the cause of global warming. They also said just because in the past 15 years it has not warmed doesn't mean anything. Behind the scenes, they were being sued by many scientists and countries to not come out with this report, with this statement, since the statement is not true in the least bit. First of all, for those that don't know, those of you out there in the work and sleep category, you know who I mean. We are in a little ice age. We are in a 20 to 30 year cool down that will result in a lower temperature, not warmer temperatures. But the idiots at the IPCC don't want to admit this and want to not only confuse the population, but allow for a world tax based on a ridiculous notion that CO2, carbon dioxide, is a greenhouse gas. As you saw in charts that I put out before, if you were on my Facebook, during the last major ice age, CO2 was through the roof. Literally, the chart was like this. This was CO2, and these were the temperatures, with this being the average temperature in the middle. That was during the ice age. CO2 has nothing to do with temperature. But most Americans are too uneducated to even draw upon knowledge about CO2 to make a reasonable thought about it, i.e. that it is not a greenhouse gas at all. Also, people are too ignorant of what the IPCC is to even realize that they are not talking, they are not scientists. It is comprised of 85% politicians, 5% scientists, and the rest are activists. The scientists under the umbrella are bought and paid for, and even scientists on the planet say that they are not just fudging data, that they are making it up. Quote, the glaciers of the Himalayas will be gone by 2035. That's says it in the report, which is followed up later in the report with the glaciers being there for hundreds of years. This is all in the same report. No one in their right mind would pay attention to a report that claims that man has caused global warming, but it hasn't warmed in 15 years. If the whole notion is that man has caused the warming and we are at our peak performance right now, it would stand to reason that in 15 years, the global temperatures would actually rise. And they have not for 15 years. It's going on 20. And the report admits this. The global warming alarmist solution to the problem: tax everyone. The entire planet needs to be taxed. So the people of Kenya, Ethiopia, Cambodia all need to be taxed. Really? That right there should be a red flag to everybody. In case people have not been vacationing in the North or South Pole lately, there is nearly a 50% increase in glacial ice. Greenland is also rolling in new ice, even more than what is normally expected. This was not included in the IPCC report. Why? Because the entire report was based on models of what would happen from 1950 to 2010. Not what actually happened. Many scientists are calling this a dead cat bounce because the mainstream media is not reporting on it. I really wonder where they get this saying dead cat bounce. Anyway, the truth of the matter is, regardless of what the mainstream media says to you, the global warming denialists, those who say that man has not caused any such global warming, and that the sun, the magnetic atmosphere, the cloud covering, and the magnetic pull from the moon, and the polar shift, which and the magnetic shift or the magnetic North Pole are what causes anything, and man is insignificant in that data. Insignificant. We cannot even increase the global temperature, not even 0.01 Celsius. We cannot. Unless we fired off all of our nuclear arsenal, the entire arsenal. And you know what would happen? We would die off. The planet would heal, and it would go on about its business. Anyway, regardless of what the mainstream media says, the denialists are the ones who are actually controlling the debate. When you see somebody like Al Gore come on TV and say the consensus is clear, scientists have all agreed that global warming is caused by man, it is a complete and utter lie. The global warmists are now being called the global warming alarmists. So it is the global warming people who are on the defensive. They are trying to have to prove their data. Why? Because their data is wrong. There has not been an increase in elevation in temperatures. So for all the people who you know, all the hippies and college kids who want to talk about global warming, okay, so where's your data for the last 15 years? And if you say, well, we have to go back 100 years. Well, if you have to go back 100 years, why don't we go back 1,000 years? Why don't we go back 2,000 years when it was actually warmer than it is today? What they don't want to tell you is that we are in a mini ice age. We are in a cooling down period. So how significant is man if we are in a cooling off period and temperatures are not rising? This is all food for thought, and just a little bit of information for you if you do happen to come across this report. The report is terrible, and everybody knows it. Thank you for watching the Shikama Live Show.